The HOA Karen stormed across my lawn, face red with anger. Get that girl out of that wheelchair right now. She needs to walk like a normal child. My little Lily started crying in her wheelchair. She couldn't walk because of her disease. Before watching full video, comment below from where you watching, also like and subscribe for more stories. My blood turned to ice as I watched Patricia Winters, the HOA president, towering over my trembling 12-year-old daughter Lily. Tears streamed down my little girl's face as she clutched the wheels of her chair, her knuckles turning white. My muscles don't work, Lily whispered, her voice breaking. I can't walk. Nonsense. Patricia snapped, her manicured finger pointing accusingly. I've seen children fake disabilities for attention. Your father is babying you with that eyesore of a ramp. Stand up this instant or I'll have it torn down tomorrow. I dropped the garden tools I was holding and rushed to my daughter's side, my police instincts kicking in as I fought to keep my rage contained. Lily's muscular dystrophy had taken her ability to walk 3 years ago, the same year cancer took her mother. This woman had no idea who she was dealing with, or what we had already survived. That's enough, I said, my voice dangerously quiet as I positioned myself between this woman and my daughter. You're trespassing on private property and harassing a disabled child. Dad, can we plant the yellow ones next? Lily asked, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Before I could answer, a sharp voice cut through our peaceful moment. Excuse me. What do you think you're doing? I looked up to see a woman marching across our lawn, her designer heels sinking into the grass with each determined step. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a tight ponytail, and she wore the kind of scowl that made even hardened criminals think twice during my years on the force. Good morning, I said, standing up and wiping my hands on my jeans. Can I help you? I'm Patricia Winters, the president of the Homeowners Association, she announced, not bothering to look me in the eyes. Her gaze was fixed on our garden and the wheelchair ramp leading to our front door. That ramp is not approved by the HOA. And those flowers don't match our neighborhood aesthetic guidelines. I took a deep breath. I'm James Cooper. This is my daughter Lily. The ramp is necessary for. I don't care what it's for, Patricia interrupted, finally looking at Lily with barely concealed disgust. Rules are rules. You need prior written approval for any external modifications. That ramp needs to be removed by the end of the week. Lily's smile faded and I felt my police training kick in. Stay calm, assess the situation, de-escalate. Ms. Winters, my daughter has muscular dystrophy. The ramp is essential for her mobility. Patricia's eyes narrowed. Well, maybe she should try walking more. Exercise is good for children. My kids played 3 sports each and never needed special treatment. I felt my blood boil but kept my voice level. That's not how muscular dystrophy works. It's a genetic condition that. Listen, she cut me off again, her voice dripping with condescension. I don't need a medical lesson. What I need is compliance with HOA regulations. Remove the ramp, file the proper paperwork, and wait for approval like everyone else. She glanced at her watch. I have another meeting. You'll receive an official notice this afternoon. As Patricia turned to leave, she paused and looked back at Lily. And sweetie, you really should try walking. Don't let your father coddle you. I watched in disbelief as Patricia strutted away, unaware that she had just picked a fight with someone who knew every housing law in the county. After all, I wasn't just a father. I was Sergeant James Cooper, head of the Community Relations Division with 15 years on the force and a specialization in housing discrimination cases. Looking down at Lily, I saw tears welling in her eyes. Daddy, will we have to move again? I like it here. I knelt beside her wheelchair and took her small hands in mine. No, sweetheart. We're not going anywhere. That woman doesn't know who she's dealing with. Are you going to arrest her? Lily asked with a whisper of hope that made me smile despite my anger. No, honey. But I am going to teach her a lesson about the law, and about kindness. That afternoon, the threatened violation notice appeared in our mailbox. The official HOA letterhead declared our ramp an unapproved structure that decreased neighborhood property values. The notice demanded removal within 7 days, with a $100 daily fine afterward. Instead of getting angry, I got busy. First, I called my partner, Detective Maria Rodriguez. Maria, remember that workshop we did on the Fair Housing Act last month? I need all those materials ASAP. Someone giving you trouble at the new place, James? Maria asked, concerned. Just an HOA president who needs an education in federal law, I replied, already formulating a plan. Next, I contacted our family lawyer, Sarah Kim, who specialized in disability rights. She was outraged when I told her what happened. The Americans with Disabilities Act and Fair Housing Act explicitly protect Lily's right to reasonable modifications, Sarah explained, though I already knew this from my work. That HOA president just opened herself and the entire association to a federal discrimination lawsuit. I don't want to sue them, Sarah, I said. I want to make this a teaching moment. Can you draft a response letter citing all relevant laws? With pleasure, Sarah replied. And maybe throw in a few case precedents to drive the point home. That evening, after Lily was asleep, I sat at my desk reviewing the HOA bylaws I'd requested when we first moved in. As I suspected, their own rules included exceptions for accessibility modifications, a clause Patricia had conveniently ignored. I also discovered that the HOA board meetings were open to all residents, with the next one scheduled for tomorrow evening. Perfect timing. The community center was crowded with about 30 neighbors when Lily and I arrived for the HOA meeting. Many smiled and waved. We'd made friends with several families on our street already. Patricia sat at the center of a long table at the front, flanked by 4 other board members. Her smile faltered when she saw us enter, but she quickly composed herself. Let's begin, she announced, banging a small gavel. First item, violation notices issued this week. I waited patiently through discussions about unapproved fence heights and improper trash can storage. Finally, Patricia reached our case. The Cooper residence on Maple Street has installed an unauthorized ramp structure. The violation notice was delivered yesterday. Before she could continue, I raised my hand. I'd like to address this issue. Patricia looked annoyed but nodded reluctantly. The floor recognizes. Mr. Cooper, is it? I stood, helping Lily navigate her wheelchair to the front of the room. Actually, it's Sergeant Cooper. I'm with the County Police Department, heading the Community Relations Division. A murmur went through the crowd. Patricia's smile froze on her face. I'm here tonight not as a police officer but as a father and a homeowner, I continued. Yesterday Ms. Winters visited my property and told my daughter, who has muscular dystrophy, that she should try walking more, instead of using her medically necessary wheelchair and ramp. Gasps and disapproving looks were directed at Patricia, whose face had turned crimson. I've reviewed the HOA bylaws, I said, holding up the document, which clearly state in Section 8, Paragraph 3 that modifications required for accessibility are exempt from prior approval requirements. Furthermore, the Americans with Disabilities Act and Fair Housing Act explicitly protect our right to make such modifications. I handed copies of Sarah's legal letter to each board member. My attorney has prepared this response to your violation notice, which details all relevant federal and state laws that supersede HOA regulations in cases of disability accommodation. The board members looked uncomfortable as they scanned the document. One of them, an older gentleman, glared at Patricia. Additionally, I continued, I've brought some educational materials about disability rights that we use in our community outreach programs. I distributed packets to everyone in the room. As a police officer, I believe education is often more effective than punishment. I turned to face the neighbors. My daughter Lily and I moved here because we wanted to be part of a caring community. Most of you have welcomed us with open arms and we're grateful. We don't want special treatment, just the respect and accommodation that the law guarantees to every person with disabilities. Lily looked up at me and then bravely addressed the room. I can't walk because my muscles don't work right. It's not because I'm lazy or because my dad spoils me. I try my hardest every day just to do normal things. Her voice trembled slightly, but she continued. All I want is to be able to get into my own house. The room fell silent. I could see several neighbors wiping away tears. Finally, one of the board members, a woman in her 60s, spoke up. I move that we immediately rescind the violation notice issued to the Cooper residents and issue a formal apology from the HOA. I second that motion, said another board member quickly. Patricia looked like she wanted to object but seemed to realize she was outnumbered. The motion passed unanimously, with Patricia abstaining. But I wasn't finished yet. There's one more thing, I said. As part of my job, I train community organizations about disability rights and inclusion. I'd like to offer that training to the HOA board and any interested residents, free of charge. The same woman who had moved to rescind our violation enthusiastically accepted the offer. I think that would be wonderful. Patricia, wouldn't that be helpful for the board? Cornered, Patricia nodded stiffly. The next Saturday, I held the training session in our backyard. Nearly half the neighborhood showed up, bringing food and drinks for an impromptu community gathering. Patricia was noticeably absent. As neighbors mingled with Lily, many apologized for what had happened. One man, who introduced himself as the HOA vice president, pulled me aside. "I want you to know we've called an emergency board meeting for Monday," he said quietly. "We're voting on new leadership." I nodded, appreciating his candor but not wanting to get involved in HOA politics. "That's your business. I just want my daughter to feel welcome here." "She will," he promised. "And so will you." 3 days later, a formal letter arrived from the HOA, not only apologizing for the misunderstanding, but also announcing a new neighborhood initiative to improve accessibility throughout the community. The letter was signed by the new acting HOA president, the woman who had first moved to rescind our violation notice. A handwritten note at the bottom read, "Patricia resigned yesterday. Your courage inspired us all." That evening, as Lily and I sat on our front porch enjoying the sunset, a car pulled up across the street. Patricia emerged, looking uncomfortable as she slowly approached our house. "Dad," Lily whispered, gripping my hand. "It's okay," I reassured her, though I was on alert. Patricia stopped at the foot of our ramp. For once, she seemed at a loss for words. "Can I help you, Ms. Winters?" I asked, keeping my tone neutral. She took a deep breath. "I came to apologize. Personally. Not because the board made me, but because I was wrong." She looked at Lily. "I said terrible things that I didn't understand. My sister sent me some articles about muscular dystrophy after I told her what happened. I had no idea." Lily looked at me, uncertain. I nodded slightly, encouraging her to respond if she wanted to. "It's okay," Lily said softly. "A lot of people don't understand." Patricia's eyes welled with tears. "That's no excuse. I've lived my whole life thinking rules matter more than people. It took a 12-year-old girl to show me how wrong I was." She hesitated, then added, "I resigned from the board because I realized I wasn't serving the community, I was just controlling it." I stood and walked down the ramp. "We all make mistakes, Ms. Winters. What matters is learning from them." "Patricia," she corrected me, extending her hand. "And I'm still learning." We shook hands and I felt the tension of the past week finally begin to dissolve. "Would you like to see our garden?" Lily called from the porch. "Dad and I finished planting the yellow flowers yesterday." Patricia looked surprised at the invitation, then smiled, the first genuine smile I'd seen from her. "I'd like that very much." As we showed Patricia our garden, neighbors began to emerge from their homes, curious about her presence. Soon, several had joined us and the impromptu gathering turned into another community moment, this time with Patricia included. Later that night, as I tucked Lily into bed, she asked, "Dad, do you think Patricia will be our friend now?" I smoothed her hair back from her forehead. "I think she's trying to be a better person, sweetheart. And that's a good start." "I'm glad we didn't have to move," Lily said, yawning. "And I'm glad you didn't arrest her." I laughed. "Sometimes justice doesn't need handcuffs, Lily. Sometimes it just needs understanding." As I turned off her light, Lily murmured sleepily, "You're the best police dad ever." In that moment, I knew we had found our home, not just a house with a ramp, but a community where my daughter could grow up feeling valued and respected. And maybe, just maybe, we had helped one woman begin her own journey toward compassion. The ramp stayed, of course. But it was no longer just a path to our front door, it had become a bridge connecting us to our neighbors, and a reminder that standing up for what's right can change hearts as well as rules.